Terry's was just like 5 minutes that way to the left, and to the right back home it took me about 10 minutes. I could have gone there, and I think I could have either maybe stopped it, or I would have turned up at the time it was all happening.
Didn't ever think it could happen to my son because he's such a friendly person. I didn't know anything. So as a parent, you fear the worst, I suppose.
You spend your whole years around all your mates, around all your family, helping the same old people every day. But actually, what made me learn a lesson is you can go somewhere else and you don't know someone, a complete stranger, and you can touch their heart, but they'll already touch your heart before you even done what you wanted to do. So, for example, I went into a shop to buy a DVD. I went upstairs, I was looking in the DVD section, and there was a Down syndrome girl there, and she was with a carer, a Jamaican guy, and she said, and before I'd never do any of this, so this is like this is where I found myself, and she wanted this box set series, and I heard the guy mention, when we get back to your care home, I'll mention it to him, maybe for your birthday and everything. Then I was sitting there and I probably had about £60-70 in my pocket, and I didn't even want to buy a DVD for myself. I thought, do you know what, like, she was excited, she was clapping her hands and everything, she's, so everything went out of me that mattered, what I wanted to get. And I said to the carer outside, because she was in a queue getting something else for him, something like that, and I said to him, well, you know the girl that you're with? And he said, oh no, don't worry, she's autistic or Down syndrome. I said, no, I realised that. That wasn't what I was asking. I'd like to buy that box set that she wants. And he couldn't believe it. He said, oh my God, somebody said that someone will come along and do something. And I went in there, and I don't even like a big, hoorah about things. And so he told her what I wanted to do, and then she led me upstairs by her hand, and I give him the money. She got the box set. She cuddled me. Everybody in the place was looking at me as I walked out, and I walked around the corner and cried my eyes out. But I realised that when you do things like that, that was the biggest feeling. Forget anything I've been through. That was the best feeling I had, because I'm emotionless. Like I said, I'm too strong inside. But things like that means more than doing people for the everyday people you do everything for in your life, and all these people that like judge everyone and everything. But imagine everyone in the world done little things like that, just little things. And I come from arrogancy, everything before I got to this stage, and that's what you can do, and that's the most beautiful feeling in the world. That's how I feel about things now.
Yeah, I've heard he's doing a Tough Mudder, and that's what Terry's good at. He asked me to do it originally, and I'm 58, and I can't even walk up the stairs without getting out of breath. But with Terry, he will, if he takes that on, he will complete it, and he'll do his very best by it.
Yeah, Tough Mudder. I'm sure he's going to complete it. I wish I could do it, but
yeah,
like
he's tried to rope us all in, but I said to him, I won't get electrocuted and all that. I won't even make it off the start line.
So yeah, I just got the email from Tough Mudder. Jesus. But it's all good. I'll do it, because I've got a heart. And I'll quit these when I start training. But it's all good, it's all good.
I think also it's like You know, it's like the end of a chapter for him type thing. So, you know, with everything that's gone on, you know, it's his last fight, if you like. So, you know, I would have liked to have done it for that reason and push myself, but after watching it, I don't think I could cope.
And when I get to that finish line, then I feel achievement, and that's what I look forward to. But down there, I'll be like that saying, I came, I seen, and I conquered. And that's it, because it's about inspiring everybody else. And that's what I'm all about. My charity's all about what we stand for.
He used to be quite naughty at school. I used to have to go up to school a lot, you know, stuff like that. I can't remember everything, but I was always getting called up to school for something. I think at one stage they did say that, I don't know if he went with matches or something, or he tried to, well, they thought he might try and burn the school down. And there was another occasion where he had a gun, but it was a toy one, and they thought it was a real one.
He went for a phase when he was about 10 or 11, where I always remember his granddad lived on the Isle of Man, so we went over there for a week. And my dad, his granddad, come out one day and he said, where's Terry? I haven't seen him for a little while. And Terry come out in all this ninja outfit and started chopping and doing somersaults. He had quite, he believed in what he was doing, you know, at the time. He would do that for a few days and then he'd go on to something else.
Terry as a teenager, he was kind of like, as his nickname is, he was kind of like a Del boy. He was always like doing things and kind of like earning money, wheeling and dealing and stuff, and just that kind of thing.
I was a bit of a rogue, I think. I was quite naughty when I was young, but I was a product of my environment, I think, when I was younger. Growing up in Norfolk was challenging at times. Growing up on council estates, in poverty. But yes, it was all good. I enjoyed it. Good times, close community. Yeah, I used to love going to the gym, even when from a younger age. I used to lie about my age and go to Harrow Leisure Centre. I used to love training. I used to love boxing, watching all the big fights and stuff, and training a little bit. A bit of martial arts I used to love that. Everything to do with fitness I used to like.
Growing up into his later years, when he was 17, 18, he's always sort of been a bit of an entrepreneur. He runs his own businesses. He's always made a living, and he makes quite a good living out of what he does.
He used to steal our pocket money, mine and my twin sisters, and make us buy all the toys he wanted and then sell them. And that was from a young age. That must be part of his entrepreneurial skills.
And as I got older, I didn't get no education, but I moved into removals for a friend that was doing it. So then when I was working for my friend, learned how to do export packing for people moving abroad, and then thought, I can do this. And that's when I very first started. I got my own contract. And then from having me and one friend that had the contract, we had about 10 people working for us. So then that was it. We were subcontractors in the removal industry. And then from there, because we were man in a van, we moved into, my dad was doing couriering at the time. So he got us some contracts delivering palletised freight. Then we got into a palletised company, got our own 2 contracts, just by chance really and hard work. And then before we knew it, we was turning over a lot of money every year. We were driving Ferraris, we had speedboats, and that's when we thought we really made it.
After like Palletways ended, there was kind of like we had like a bunch of money, so we kind of like got the pub, and then it was probably too early for us. We're probably still quite juvenile, and like we was quite naive really, and we just like went into a business that we didn't really know nothing about. But we had fun though, and probably spent too much money, probably lost too much money as well.
Then we moved back into removals, and then my mum moved to Devon, so I bought my mum's house, the first house I bought. And if I'd have thought about it when I was earning all the money and I weren't reckless, I'd have had probably a lot of properties. So I bought my mum's house, our childhood house in Lancaster Road, Norfolk. Then she moved down to Devon. Then I thought to myself, do the house up, which I did, got a lot of work done there, and then earned money on that. And I was intending to go to Devon for a better life, for a peaceful life. Just for, I knew, be by the sea and jet ski and stuff, just because I had a little experience of that when I was in Rye, Sussex, by the sea. So it was all nice, so I wanted that life. I sold that house and then bought a house down there to be close to my mum, really, and pretty much to start a new life. life in Devon when we got there was brilliant, because we got there just at the end of the summer, and I just used to go every day. I bought a jet ski, brand new fresh jet ski. I used to go down every day and just jet ski every morning on the sea. And I was just taking it easy for a little while because I had savings, I had profit from the house, so I was just taking a bit of time out.
Wasn't any planning in it, so he just thinks
Yeah, I
something
think-
and does it, you know?
What it was, I went in 2006 and he came down, I'm sure it was the beginning of 2007.
He's moved to Devon. I think he just wanted to. Lived near the sea before when he was younger, and I think he just wanted to go back there. And his mum was living there at the time as well, which was a big lever for him to go down there. But I did actually move down there with him eventually.
We did lots of different things together, and we used to go out and do a few. We were sort of like, we tried a few things out down there, like a couple of markets and things. They got stuff, and just it was good to spend some time together. And I've always been quite close with Terry, so like with his dad as that as well. So it was nice that I wasn't down there on my own. But then, as Terry moved down there, then my brother decided to come as well.
My Uncle Vince, we used to go sea fishing down there together. He come out jet skiing with me a couple of times. We was in talks of doing our own business, landscaping business. We used to spend a lot of time. We used to play on the computer at my house, online and stuff. He'd be at his house, we'd play online. We used to get on really well. We had a brilliant relationship for years before me moving to Devon anyway.
So I hadn't actually spoke to him for years when I was in Norfolk before I sold up. But because my mum was quite ill, I had to involve him in financial affairs and power of attorney and everything like that. So we then, although we hadn't spoken for years, I had to sort of like befriend him again. And that's how really we got friendly. I moved to Devon, Terry moved to Devon, and he sold up his house in Hillingdon and he moved to Devon as well, just round the corner. But I think he was always a little bit, I think he suffered with a little bit of depression, to be honest, over the years.
Yeah, me and Vince was close for years and years, from when I was a kid. Because even when I was a kid and I was being thrown from pillar to post, he would always take me and my cousin Bradley, and we'd always spend time together at his flat. So I spent a lot of time with Vince. On the day of the 14th of October 2007, we were sitting there. We had a couple of things before that when we used to go sea fishing. He would pull a book out of his top pocket and have car registrations on it. And he'd say, people follow me from London and that. And I used to say to him, well, I don't think that's right, but I just used to put it as down to a bit of paranoia. Didn't really think much about it. So there was a few little things, probably stuff that I can't even remember, little bits and pieces that I didn't even take seriously. But on that day, on the 14th of October, he came in, and me, my dad, Tasha was there. She was cooking Sunday roast. I was sitting at a table reading an Auto Trader because I was going to buy a van for this business that we're doing. So my dad was there, so he came in and he was ranting and raving, saying that people were going through his paperwork at his house and all sorts of madness going through his head, and something we had on the side, a letter on the side from Essex, and his ex is from Essex and thinks that we're talking with his ex and telling her his business and stuff like that. So from all the madness that nothing ever made sense what he was talking about before, he sort of calmed down a bit. My dad went to work. I think Tasha went and walked the dog, and then she came back afterwards, and just me and him then, and he was pretty cool then, and I made him a cup of tea. We were sitting there talking about the van I was going to go and buy. And then when Tasha came back in with the dog, and then she sat down, she was in the kitchen, he said to me, I'm going to go now. So I thought, all right, I've been through the madness stage, and maybe he's just having a bit of depression or something. He said to me, I've got last week's Auto Trader in the car. Do you want me to get it? And I said, why do I need last week's? I've got this week's. I'm going to go and look at this van today down at Trago Mills. And he said, no, I've got last week's. It's got more vans in it that's not in this week's. So I thought, all right, allow it. Go and do what you're doing. So he went out, shut the kitchen door as he went out, walked out to the car. And obviously he said, I shut the door because of the dog. So he said, all right, cool, because the dog used to run off. Next thing, it's just madness. He come through the door and he had a petrol can with no lid on it and a lighter, a yellow clipper. And he was standing there saying, I want he was swearing, saying, I want fucking answers. And I was just looking in amazement. I was still sitting at my dining table with my Auto Trader open. He's come in with no Auto Trader, but a petrol can and a lighter. And he's standing there and he's saying he wants answers, otherwise everybody's going to die today and everything else. And then he starts pouring petrol on his own head. And then it was splashing on the table and he was ranting and raving and he just didn't look himself anymore. His eyes were like grey, you know, like he was possessed by the devil or something. And then I think I said something to him. I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I want answers. If I don't get answers, you're all going to die today." And that's all he kept saying. And then he splashed petrol towards me and it sort of splashed on the table and then hit me and I had a hoodie on. And then Tasha went to go out the garage internal door. And he said, "Where do you think you're going?" Or "Where the fuck do you think you're going?" And then I said to him, what are you doing? Don't talk to her like that. And then he went for her, and then that was it. I jumped up out of my seat. That was my opportunity when he took my eyes off me. Then we grabbed each other and we was wrestling. And by this time, the petrol can's falling on the floor, spinning. And we're sort of grappling. And I said to her, like, "Fucking run." I see her just going out the door, and the next thing we both slipped on the petrol. So we slipped forward, and I slipped forward onto him. And so we're sort of practically wrestling and fighting in the fire, but all the time he's trying to light this lighter. I can see it sparking. So as I'm trying to get back up, but like I said, the petrol's all on the floor, so it's like an ice rink. So I'm trying to get back up and pull him up. He split. The lighters managed to spark because where it was wet, it weren't sparking properly. You could just hear it, and I just see the spark, and next thing, bang! It was like a bomb.
My phone went, and it was Tasha, Terry's girlfriend that he was in with, very irate and said, "Oh, we set the house on fire, you know, blah, blah, blah. Terry don't know what's going on." So that was the first I heard of it.
It's sort of like really crazy, you know, like I got to the traffic lights and Terry's was just like 5 minutes that way to the left and to the right back home. It took me about 10 minutes. And I thought, shall I go to Terry's? But no, they've gone to Totnes to look at a van. So that will always be in my mind forever because I could have gone there and I think I could have either maybe stopped it or I would have turned up at the time it was all happening.
And I couldn't see nothing but through all this intense flames. But all I could see was this ray of light through my dining room window. So I run for the light, but as I run, I still had hold of him. So I tried to pull him with me. But at the same time, he was resisting or there was things in the way, I don't know, but it was so intense that I just jumped the balcony. And as I jumped, I just dived over it. I remember hitting the decking because it was from the first floor of the house and just rolling forward. But my hoodie was on fire, I could still feel these flames. So I pulled everything off and then I was down to, because I had Adidas shell suit bottoms on. As I looked, my top was still burning on the side, but I pulled it off. So I had nothing on top. All I had left was my waistband, my boxer shorts, my trainers and my socks. But even my trainers were like hot burnt. So then from then, I could hear moans and groans out of the house. And then I was thinking about Tasha, where's she? So I run back through my downstairs patio doors up, but I see the kitchen door was still shut and I could hear the intensity of the fire and him screaming in there, really. I run out the front door because there's no way I'm going back in the fire. I come out the front door and I see the garage door open, so I knew she'd got out. So I went into the neighbour's house and they was all just running around calling the police. Tash said to me, "What the fuck did he just do?" and everything. And I said, "Listen, I just need the toilet." And I was in her toilet, splashing water on my face. And I didn't feel that bad then. It's just like I had no hair left. It was like a skinhead, and I always had hair with highlights and stuff. So I splashed all the water in my face, and I felt all right. We all had to come outside because I had to tell Karen, because she had little kids, "Let's go out," because you could hear the fire from her house, like the intensity of it, and all the smoke coming out the back window. So we went out the front, then we sat at the front, like opposite my house on the curb, and I was just sitting there, and I was thinking, did he get out? See, I told the neighbour, turn the gas off, because we had the gas on. I thought it was going to blow, because we still got the chicken in the oven. So the neighbour ran and turned the gas off from outside, the mains, but you could just see smoke, and then the whole neighbourhood was out, everyone was everywhere.
Didn't ever think it could happen to my son because he's such a friendly person. I knew Vincent very well as well, and I didn't think he would be capable of doing what he did, you know. And that was the initial thought when I first got that phone call. Is he alive? I didn't know anything. So as a parent, you fear the worst, I suppose. And if I go on from there, I picked his mum up, we got in the car. She lived about 2 miles, maybe 3 miles from Terry.
I just quickly ran out, jumped in the car, not thinking, or even, thinking, oh, maybe it's something silly, his hair's singed or something, or not thinking the worst, or thinking the worst, and I didn't know till we got there.
One of the nurses, I think was a local old lady there, she put wet towels over me and that, but when I was sitting there then, I didn't feel so clever then, and all the skin was like dripping off my fingers, like it was like a scene out of Robocop, and off my ears and that, I could just feel skin, and it was all like, it continued to burn. So I was sitting there, even though like I was out of it, it was still continuing to burn. Yeah, this is where I thought I was going to die and it was game over. So I sat on here looking back at the house, and I was just sat here on the edge, sitting down, and then one of the ladies put wet towels around me, and this is where I started shaking, my body was shaking while I was waiting for the ambulance. The ambulance pulled up just over there, but it was about a good 10-15 minute wait. But this is where I thought my life had finished, game over here. This is the last thing I remember. When they got me in the ambulance, straight away laid me on the bed, and they knocked up a big injection and just injected me, because at that point I didn't think I was going to make it, because I could start seeing the light myself.
And as we went up the hill, there was this, you could see the smoke, because he was like on his state, you could see the smoke, and as we got closer there was a horrendous burning smell. Then we pulled into the estate, and by the time we got there the police had sort of called them, with the things, and it was just sheer panic, because as a parent it's your worst nightmare, to be honest.
It was just bedlam. That's the only thing I can remember. There was police cars everywhere, there was neighbours out, people running around, ambulance, fire engines, I think even, like the big vans, maybe when someone's dead, I can't remember, it was just bedlam. And I just didn't know, I just lost it. I just started running up and down the road. And in the end, I got bundled in a police car. And I did know someone was dead. I didn't know who it was.
What happened from the whole...
Could you pull us for a minute?
Of course we can.
We was having Sunday dinner actually, and we got a phone call from my dad saying that Terry's had an accident. But he was obviously very confused. He wasn't making any sense. So we didn't know if it was a car accident, or then he said someone's dead, and we just couldn't make head nor tail. And then the phone sort of cut off, and then we're calling back, no answer, and then I think my dad called back again and said that it's very bad. He's being moved to Bristol. So we literally just turned the cooker off, jumped in the car, dropped off the kids, and picked up Terry's ex-girlfriend, mother of his children, and we literally drove straight up to Bristol.
I remember getting to Torquay Hospital and coming in the hospital on the bed, and when I was in there was just madness, all nurses running around, everything, putting a big clear tent thing over my bed. And then I remember my dad, but I couldn't really see anything then, so I don't know why I couldn't see, but my dad was at the side of me, and then I was telling him to tell my kids I love them and all that, because at that point I thought I'm not going to make it, because my body was just out of control, shaking and convulsing on the bed, and I thought this is it. And I just, not to say that but I knew that at that point that's the worst I've ever felt, and I was crossing over somewhere. And then pretty much that's all I really remember to that point. When they took me up in an ambulance to Bristol Frenchay, an emergency drive. I think they were talking about getting a helicopter, but couldn't get that, so I was going to get airlifted, but they drove me there in an ambulance. And then I sort of remember being there for a minute when I was all swollen and sitting in the bed. I remember having a few conversations, and then I don't remember nothing till I woke up in ICU.
He was unrecognisable. His hands were in bags, his face was like out here, his lips. He just had, his skin was just melting, like just dripping. And he couldn't understand why everyone was shocked or crying, because he was obviously on medication. Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a burns victim, so on the way when we did know that there had been a fire, we didn't know to what extent. So in your mind, you kind of imagine somebody burnt, but I've never seen anything like it in my life, to be honest with you. It was quite shocking.
How did I feel?
Yeah.
Yeah, shock, yeah.
When I woke up, obviously I was in a drug-induced coma, so when they woke me up, I didn't really know the extent of what had happened to me and everything. So when I was sitting there, obviously I couldn't see myself, so I had my hands in splinters and stuff, and the family telling me like what's been going on and you've been having skin grafts and all sorts of things. I didn't really feel any pain when I woke up, but then when I was sitting there and I realised I couldn't do anything, and I've been there for like weeks in a coma, so like I thought I'd missed Christmas, because at the end of my bed was all these cards to me and everything, and it was all Christmas decorations. So I thought I've been out longer than I've missed Christmas, and that's all I kept asking everyone, have I missed Christmas?
You go through so much mentally, and your mind is just, and then the ups and downs of every day. Is he going to make it? Is he not going to make it? Learning what the machines do, trying to read them yourself, if they're good, if they're bad. Waiting for that phone call at 6 a.m, because the one I answered where they said that's it, and they called the priest in,
And as time went on, we had a lot of ups and downs after that. One day, you get a bit of a ray of hope, he don't look too bad today, and then he went downhill. He got this MRSA and different things. And then after that, it was just a total nightmare, to be honest with you, because from day to day things changed. And we had a phone in the little room we stayed in, and we used to dread that phone going off.
It seemed like forever that we were trying to pay for hotels, and everyone would bundle in a hotel. No one really had the money as such, it was like after a couple of weeks, it's like £70 to £100 a night. It was like extortionate money. I'm not working. Everyone else is sort of like not working. It was hard. And then it was like godsend when they give us the room right next to the intensive care. So we all bundled in there as well.
When they woke me up, and they were saying to me like we had to read your last rites twice and everything, I think I was only awake about 2 or 3 days. And then where I had insomnia, where I'd been asleep for so long, I was just sitting there staring at the clock. There was just nothing, no TV or nothing in there, just a big massive clock at the end of my bed. And I just remember watching that for like 3 days, like on and off, dozing off, watching it. And like I was just watching time and talking to the nurses that were there.
At the time, he didn't look too bad. He looked a bit red. He was talking to me. And the one question he asked me, which it's quite heartbreaking really, but he said to me, "Dad, I'm not going to die, am I?" And I don't know, but of course I'm not going to. So I said to him, "Of course you're not going to die, son. You're stronger than that." You sort of perk him up.
Then, 3 days later, I remember waking up, and then my sister and my ex was there. And then and they were both crying at the end of my bed, either side of my bed. So I was sitting there, and I was like, "What's happened?" And I thought it was something to do with me. And then that was when they told me about my daughter died. My ex had to have an emergency cesarean because her intestines grew outside of her stomach. So she was in ICU herself for about 3 months after she was born. She had a lot of complications from birth. Then over the years, she always used to get like stomach pains and stuff. But she seemed to be pretty much, the doctors and everything said she was good, everything was all right.
Obviously they wanted to wake her up. He was still in a coma at this point, so he didn't know anything. They was planning on waking him up out of the coma. Do you tell him, do you not tell him? This was an issue. Obviously as parents they didn't want to tell him, but I'm saying You know, you can't not tell somebody that their child has passed away. You can't. It's not your right, really.
I remember her. She was nice. She was a pretty little girl. She was quite bubbly and stuff, and quite a happy kid. And yeah, it was a bit of a shock. And I just thought at the time, what else can happen, you know?
I don't think I did process it really. I think I had to separate the two of what was happening to me, because my first instinct was that I didn't want to be here no more. So I'd rather have that I died that day and she lived. But even though it was two separate scenarios, I no longer wanted to be here, because I can't really explain how it felt, because it was like a knife through my heart in a hospital bed, and I couldn't do any more. I couldn't do nothing for myself, and I couldn't be there for anybody else because I was dealing with my own battle. I had to find strength to be there for my other children. So I had to find a way to get back to my feet, because obviously there's going to be a funeral now, and that was one thing that I wasn't going to miss in the world, no matter how bad I was. And there was talks about the nurses pushing me there in my oxygen tanks in a wheelchair, and I didn't want any of that. I wanted to stand like a man that I was before and do me on that day. So that was my new outlook, is that I'm gonna fight everything that's happened to me now to be there for that day. So the day of the funeral, I was still in Bristol in a house in Fish Ponds, staying by the hospital, because I was still an outpatient every day. So I got driven down to the funeral, which was in Northwood. Then my friends laid on some cars and they said, look, we'll drive you and everything. And I said, no, I want to drive myself. And I was still in quite a bad state. But I was determined to do everything myself that day, so I drove for the first time. And when we got there, I walked. I had my crutches and stuff, but I walked for the first time, because I refused not to walk, because she gave me the strength to do everything I did that day. So I walked and stood for the whole funeral. So this is my diary. Training for this Tough Mudder. I didn't want to do this diary because I think it's a bit silly to do, but there you go. Just been training all weekend, feeling the pain now. Been training again today. It's like 5 days now till Tough Mudder. Looking forward to it really. At the same time, feeling not ready, but I think I'll get through it. Through doing the Terry Dunnage Foundation, I'm kind of hoping to be able to reach out and help people and anyone on the road to recovery. Working with burns and disfigurement is close to my heart, but also all the experience I've had, as in disability, addiction, getting back to some sort of normality. I want to show to people in any road of every part of your recovery, there's no such word as you can't. So I'm going to do Tough Mudder. It's not something I wish to do, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to complete it. I've trained for it. And I'm going to do many other events to just show that anything that people say you can't do, or your disability holds you back, or your mental state holds you back, I'm going to prove to you that nothing can hold you back unless you allow it to. Not really feeling anxious or nothing, just gonna do my thing, but I'm not even really gonna think about it. I'm just gonna turn up, do it. Still hurting a bit, aching, stuff, but be nice after today. That's my training out of the way now, so I just rest till we do it, till we get there now. And just turn up on the day and deal with the matter now. My little nephew's doing it now as well. Tough Mudder showed a bit of love. He's only 17, but he really wants to do it. He loves playing football and that. He wants to support and be part of the charity, so be nice. It's nice that they let him do it as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to struggle, man. We'll get through it though, we'll be alright.
Got the butterflies. I just want to get it done now. The anticipation's doing my head in. I just want to get there, get warmed up and run it, because I've been waiting a week. I'm dreading the ice in this weather, And I'm just dreading the whole course, really. Praying I get through it. That's it. I'm not really looking forward to any part of it, really. My best part I'm looking forward to is just seeing everyone else trying to do it. I'm determined to finish it. I'll never quit. So nothing's going to stop me from trying anyway. Just whether I physically can do it.
How do I feel when I hear a story like Terry's? I mean, the answer is it's incredibly humbling, and it's great for me that people come and do our event. But it says more about them than it does about our event, that people want to push themselves, challenge themselves, prove something to themselves. And we're not in the health and wellness business, we're in the self-esteem and pride business. And I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of the fact we've raised over £12 million for charities worldwide, over £5 million here in the UK for Help for Heroes. That's sort of part of it. And the fact that we get so many people doing our event who've overcome tough things, people who've lost loved ones and doing Tough Mudders to get their lives back on track, people who've overcome alcoholism, people who've overcome serious burns like Terry, whose lives have been changed forever. And Tough Mudder, it's a vehicle for change for people, and I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of what we've built.
And so off we went. After lots of running, we came to our first obstacle. It was time to get muddy for the first time as we crawled under the barbed wire. Right now I was feeling good. More running, the weather was beautiful. Cold. That's all that's doing me up is the cold, really. On we went as we scaled another wall. I immediately began to appreciate the benefit of teamwork. Then just as I was thinking Tough Mud isn't tough, I was introduced to the Arctic Enema. It was a meeting I'd never forget again. On we ran. I was frozen, my limbs began to tire, and we still had like 10 miles to go. Then came Loch Ness Monster. I don't believe in made-up creatures, but this monster was real, very real. This was definitely a team event, and I saw and noticed for the first time that we were splitting into a little mini team. Together we slew Loch Ness Monster, and the camaraderie with the other Tough Mudder teams was evident to see as we made new friends. More running, lots of running. And a bit more tunnelling. And more muddy waters. And more running. Then came Everest. We had to run up the ramp and then grab onto the waiting hands of our teammates and the other kind Tough Mudders. How much more running and climbing could I do? How much more ice-cold water could my skin take? On we went, crawling, running, crawling, more bloody cold water. When would it end? I was nearly there, but first, I had to swim on my back with fencing just above my face. I hated it. I hated the whole day. Please let it be over. And it nearly was over, except for the last hurdle, hydroshock therapy. I said to myself, I've faced worse. I've been burnt already. I've been addicted to prescription drugs. I've also died twice. I can do this electric shock business, and I did. It's more than what I expected, I think. To be fair, it's hard. It's harder than what I thought it was going to be. I thought I didn't really take it that serious. I thought, well, I'll come up, be a fun day out. It ain't fun, man. It ain't fun at all. The ice water, the Arctic Enema, that took my breath. I thought I was banging trouble on that. I was looking for ambulance people when I got out because I thought I was in trouble on it. That was the worst. It was hard. Believe me, it was hard. I wanted to cry at times. I want to go home now, have a redox bath and rest up for a few days. I don't think I'll ever do it again. We'll call it the one time, but yeah, it's done. Said and done now. Completed it, so I'm happy, but yeah, I'm a broken man right now. broken man at the minute. Not good, man.
How you feeling?
Not good. Not feeling good.
No? You did it
That's
though?
hard. It's
did it?
hard, man. Yeah. Did it? What that? Cut, man. That's me. We'll have an interview in a minute. Let me get out of this shit.
How was the electroshock therapy?
That was alright. I didn't mind that so much.
Really?
Yeah, because
That's
it's
the
the
one most
final.
people hate the most.
No, I didn't care about that. It's the
Yeah?
ice and the water, everything water, and then you're running and you're wet.
King of the Swingers, how was that?
That was alright.
Yeah?
I like that one, yeah.
Did you hit the bell?
No.
No one did today.
I
I think
slipped
it's
straight
the
off the
wind.
bars.
Yeah.
Slippery. Proved a lot to myself and everyone on my team, really, so
Yeah, good.
brilliant.
That's great. You're going to do it again? Or once and done?
Well, yeah, I think about that, but maybe. No, I'm going to get dry.
Yeah. You do
Relax.
look a bit cold. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
for you. Congratulations
Thank you
again.
very
I
much.
mean it.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
we really appreciate you coming along. I'm glad you had a good time.
What do you hope to achieve with the rest of your life?
What do I hope to achieve for the rest of my life? Well, I'm kind of where I want to be because I'm in the music industry now. I've got my charity. I kind of hope that I inspire and help people. That's where I want to be. And when that starts happening, then I'll feel fulfilled because that's my biggest fulfillment. That's the only thing that can touch me emotionally now is when I can help somebody that needs the help, that are less fortunate than me. And I think that'd be beautiful. That's how I see my life. That's how I want it to end.